One, one, one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. У меня там еще есть. Back in the days when he was liberal. Kind.
Ksenia Turkova, she is a she's a linguist and a specialist in how we call journalistic warfare and political rhetoric. She worked for Voice of America. In Ukraine, she works for Gromadske, for the Insider, and she's a specialist in linguistics. And that's what she's going to talk about today, about Medvedev's linguistics.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. As you can see, not so many people are interested in Mr. Medvedev. And we even made a joke already that maybe we should take a picture of an empty room and send it to Medvedev to show him that nobody is interested in him, because he clearly wants everybody to be interested in him, because he is kind of a famous lawyer, and he has a Telegram channel in Russian and in English as well. Because recognizably, Uh, and so let's start with the recent word exchange between Medvedev and Trump. And I think actually a lot of Americans, they probably didn't even know who Medvedev was until happened because Donald Trump said something about Medvedev, and he said that his statements, Medvedev's statements, were dangerous, and in response to those dangerous and irresponsible statements, he will send the submarines. And they had this this exchange of words. And I forgot to ask you, do you know what the last name Medvedev means in the Russian language? Who knows that? I mean, I know there are people here who know that, but I want to hear the answers of English speakers. Do you have any idea what it means in the Russian language? So Medved is bear. Bear. So his last name basically means like bear. And there are a lot of jokes about that as well, because he doesn't look like a bear. He's small, he's not high, he's actually like a tiny man, and he's not dangerous at all. Because he doesn't decide anything. That's why he is not a real Russian bear. He's the opposite to his last name. Yeah. And so you see, Donald Trump said that Medvedev is a stupid person. Yes, Medvedev is a stupid person. I've moved a submarine or two to Russia's coast. They won't find them. Because Medvedev kept saying, like, maybe he didn't do anything. Let's start just from his biography, who Medvedev is. He was born in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, in Russia. He has a law degree from Leningrad State University, where he later taught. He worked in the St. Petersburg mayor's office under Anatoly Sobchak. He joined the Kremlin administration. Then he was deputy chief of staff, later first deputy prime minister. Then he was a president of Russia, then prime minister, and now he's a deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council. These are some of his quotes. He said that the first entry in his employment record said street cleaner, and that time he had, and the latest one says president. And he said he was not afraid of anything. Otherwise, I couldn't be a president. For my ideals, I am ready to die. But it was not clear what his ideas were. And when he became a president, there was a very popular word, one of the most popular words in the political language at that time was the word tandem. Tandem, you know, it's like a type of bicycle, and they called Putin and Medvedev a tandem because they appeared almost always like appeared together at the public events. They played badminton because Medvedev was trying to promote badminton as a sport, and so they were like always together. And that's why also people understood that Putin was in charge and Putin was making all the decisions, and Medvedev was kind of like not a real president, and that's why they called them a tandem. They decided all in that tandem, and there were a lot of jokes like that. Journalists called them the ruling tandem, a political bicycle where Putin steers and Medvedev pedals. Medvedev said, we have a division of labor, but our goals are the same. And this kind of relationship was reflected in the anecdotes about Medvedev and Putin, and almost all of them showed that Putin was really in charge, the one in charge, and Medvedev was not a real president. And here is one of the examples. We can see that anecdote that shows us this. After the elections, Medvedev comes home and tells his wife, well, Svetlana, his wife Svetlana, tonight you will be sleeping with the president. And she's asking, is Luda okay with that? And Luda was Putin's wife at that time. So, and there were a lot of jokes and anecdotes like that. All of them were showing who was a real president, who was really in charge. So from the beginning, Medvedev had that image of like a fake president. But at the same time, a lot of people remember his statements about like values like liberty and freedom, and he was considered like a liberal president. Even even if he was like a fake president, he was a liberal president because he said something like that. And when, for example, if as a journalist, if I remember the times of Medvedev, I remember the times of Medvedev as like vegetarian era for the journalists and for the media. And he kind of showed that image to the world and inside the country. Here are some of his key quotes. One of them is, "Freedom is better than non-freedom." Very simple, but it's better than nothing, you know. And also he said Russia faces some difficulties with democracy. In the 90s, people confused democracy with well-being. Nevertheless, democracy is not over. So words like freedom, democracy, like human rights appeared in his vocabulary regularly. And again, he showed himself as a liberal president. There was a joke about like freedom is better than non-freedom. There was a joke, Agusha is better than Frutanyanya. Agusha and Frutanyanya are well-known Russian baby food brands. And people made that joke to show the simplicity of that statement. It was very primitive. Although, as I said, it was better than nothing, it was good. But at the same time, it was very primitive, very, very simple statement. And that's why people kind of mocked Medvedev for that. And also, Dmitry Medvedev had a lot of nicknames. And one of them was Jolly Gnome. There was a funny story in the city of Omsk in Russia in 2010 when Medvedev was going to visit the city, and they had a children's play titled "Waiting for You, Jolly Gnome." It was scheduled to be performed by the local theater studio, and it was scheduled to be performed during Medvedev's visit. It was not connected to him at all, but they decided, in preparation for Medvedev's visit, they decided to remove the promotional poster of the play from the theater wall along the route of the presidential motorcade, because they thought that Medvedev might think that it was about him, that he was a jolly gnome, because because he's like tiny and funny, and people were making fun of him, and he's like this little bear. He doesn't decide anything, and he's like everybody was making fun of him, and that's why they decided in advance to get rid of those posters, although they had nothing to do with Medvedev. But then Streisand effect happened. You know what it is. So that nickname actually stuck with him, Jolly Gnome. And if you find it in Wikipedia, it will say that it's one of Medvedev's nicknames, and they will tell you that story. So the effect was actually the opposite. And Another nickname for Medvedev was iPhonechick, uh, because he was very tech-loving president, in opposition to Putin. Because as you know, Putin is very archaic in this area. He doesn't know much about internet and how it works, about social media. And Medvedev was completely the opposite. He was excited about all the technology and the social media, and he was like sincerely interested in that. At least it looked like that. And so one of his nicknames was iPhonechick, a little iPhone, because of his passion for modern technology and gadgets. And he got his iPhone during his visit to the United States. And again, this visit was very friendly. If you remember that, they went to McDonald's with Barack Obama, and then he was gifted an iPhone. It was all about the technology, and so it showed like normal human, some normal human reactions and moments about him. Although, again, as I said, he was mocked, like made fun of. It was very different from what we see with Putin, because there is nothing human about Putin. And Medvedev had those human moments. He likes an iPhone. He could take like a selfie in the on the elevator. And again, human moments. As I said, he was the first Russian president who started Twitter, and he started posting cats. People love cats on social media, and that's what Medvedev did. He posted stories about his cat Dorofei. And I was preparing for this presentation, and I even forgot, when I was preparing, I remembered that story when Dorofei had gone missing, and everybody was worried about Dorofei, what happened to him. So again, it was very normal human moment. We can see stories like that in other countries, and that was, you know, although he was funny and he was the like weird, at the same time, there was like a glimpse of hope because of moments like that, and because of his reaction, and because of his language as well, because his language was like normal, and he said some obvious things like about freedom and non-freedom, and maybe people couldn't say like they really liked him or he's a great president or something like that, but at least they saw something human in him, and it was again like a glimpse of hope. What if he stays and and it won't be that bad as with Putin? And so he posted about his cat. He promoted badminton, as I have already said. He played badminton with Putin multiple times. You can find that video online. He didn't make any, when we talked about Putin's language portrait, we talked about how like rude he can be. He uses criminal slang a lot. He likes really offensive jokes. But none of that was done by Medvedev at that time. At that time, he had a different approach, different language portrait. And but then some shifts started in his rhetoric after the annexation of Crimea, and he started drifting towards that patriotic rhetoric. And one of his initiatives was to rename Americano, coffee Americano, into Russiano. And actually some coffee shops in Crimea after the annexation, they did rename it, and they started selling Russiano instead of Americano. I think it was just like the wave, and then it was gone, and they probably sell Americano again. I think so, but there was a moment when they really started selling Russiano. It was because of, you know, after the annexation, like the wave of patriotism, in Russia, and also like fighting words that are non-Russian and stuff like that, and sanctions, something against sanctions. We will show that we don't need that American coffee. We have our Russiano coffee. And also Medvedev was known, here we can see that they really renamed at some places, they started selling Russiano instead of Americano. And also Medvedev was known, that is probably his main meme in among all his statements. This, there is no money but you hang in there. This is денег нет, но вы держитесь. It's probably but the meme was that short phrase, there is no money but you hang in there. It was said during in the next Crimea during a conversation with a local resident who complained about low pensions, and Medvedev didn't know what to say, and he said, there is simply no money right now. When we find money, we'll adjust the pensions. You hang in there. All the best to you. Stay healthy and in good spirits. Good luck. And it became a meme, and not only became a political meme, it got wider, and it got into like everyday language, because now I think like everybody who speaks Russian can use it from time to time, this phrase, not only about politics, like about anything. So it became a real meme. It's in the dictionary of Putin's era now. And I think it's actually a good phrase that can reflect a lot of things, and it's very useful. So you can use it in everyday life. Like, we have no money, but we have to hang in there. They told us, like, at work, no money, but there is shutdown, right? They probably won't pay us. Like, good luck and hang in there. So you can use it. It's a very useful phrase. So that's how Medvedev created. He, not intentionally, but he created this meme, and he will be remembered by that meme in particular. There was a video, but it disappeared with Medvedev. This is a video, but how can I show it to you? I don't know. Huh? No? No, I wanted to show the video, but I think I can't. No? Is it possible to show this video, or it won't play? If it's not, don't worry. We can all watch it later. It's downloading. No internet, but hang in there. You see how multifunctional it is. You can use it. Stay in good spirits. So people are complaining, like, we have no money, where are our pensions? Мы не можем сделать только в одном месте. And now we need to go back to the presentation. Yeah. And it's actually a reference. It's actually a reference, non-intentional again, to Marie Antoinette when she said a famous phrase like, "Let them eat cake." Okay. 7 questions about Dmitry Medvedev. That was an interesting video. Uh-huh. Yeah, so her famous phrase, "Let them eat cake," when allegedly spoken when she was told that people had no bread, and she said, "Let them eat cake. Пусть они едят пирожные." And here is Medvedev's phrase. So it was like a contrast between the situation and the phrase. That's why it had that comical effect, and it stayed in the language. Also, this thing is associated with Dmitry Medvedev as well as a symbol of Russian anti-corruption protest. In 2017, Alexei Navalny released an investigative documentary, a report detailing corruption involving Dmitry Medvedev, and there was in that documentary they were talking about some property he had, Medvedev had, with a private house for a duck. And so people went to that protest with those yellow rubber ducks as a symbol of corruption in Russia. And again, this is the detail that says us a lot about the image of Medvedev in general. So it's always something like small and funny and a little bit even childish. So it all goes to that puzzle of his portrait as a politician and linguistic portrait. So like a jolly gnome, a little rubber duck, little bear, iPhone chick, little iPhone. So everything, all those words and all those images are about something small, insignificant, and a person who is not really in charge, and who can have like some luxury property, and who can be corrupt and like be rich or something like that, but at the same time this person doesn't decide anything, and it's just like a cartoon figure in the Russian politics. And all those words and all those images, as I said, like tell us that story. But then Medvedev radically, drastically changed his rhetoric. And from freedom is better than non-freedom, and from all those cute moments with badminton, iPhones, and selfies and cat on his social media, he went to a very aggressive, and not only aggressive, like to the, like, I don't even know how to describe. I will show you some of his quotes, and it was very difficult to translate them. I ChatGPT to translate them, but I don't even know if ChatGPT did a good job, because Medvedev, I don't know where he takes all those words. Some Russian speakers, they don't know the words he uses now. Very rude, insulting, aggressive. So it's kind of, it's like he has that dictionary of the insults, of all kinds of insults, old and new, and he uses all of them in his on his Telegram channel, in his posts. So he became like really aggressive. And again, as I said, he had a lot of nicknames. And one of his new nicknames became Evil Plush, Zloy Plushovый, because he was like a teddy bear, like, you know, this absolutely not dangerous, innocent, and he became that aggressive, like a barking crazy dog, or something like that. And that's why a teddy bear, plush, became evil. Also, one of his nicknames was pitiful, жалкий, That was a reference to the perception that Putin really controlled everything, while Medvedev appeared less independent. And so let's just look at some of his quotes. These are the quotes about Ukraine, especially the second one. Just look at the words like grunting, piglets, and you see the vocabulary. This fourth one. This is about Europe. These two quotes are about Zelensky. You see cocaine clown and something about pigs as well. Again, there is something about pigs. Putin is talking about pigs all the time, and Medvedev as well. I don't know where this obsession is coming from with pigs. Legitimize the insect. You see, and here he actually repeats their like hate speech on Russian TV, because, for example, Vladimir Solovyov, one of the main Russian propagandists, he once compared the so-called special operation, the Russia's war against Ukraine, to deworming cat, and he said, like, for the worms it's a war, but for the cat it's a liberation. So he basically compared Ukrainians to worms, and that's what you can hear on Russian TV, and this is the part of hate speech they use, but it's one thing when like propagandists use that speech, and the other thing is like when politicians, he's whatever we think about him, but he has an official position, like a high position, and this is his language he uses. This is, again, it's about green worm, because Zelensky means green. It has the root that means green. This is about Ursula von der Leyen and the European Union. Written. These are written. These are written. These are parts of the posts, his posts on Telegram. On Twitter, yes, but he's, I think he, yeah, he has cross-post. And so the question is, why he changed? Did he change so much? Why did he change his language so much, and why he started using all those words? He shifted from liberal, humorous, and tech savvy to aggressive and harsh. And some experts, they say that the shift reflects Medvedev's alignment with the Kremlin's hardline stance, and he wants kind of to find his place in a, this is one of the opinions, to find his place in the future Russia, to show himself as so-called, another word, turbo patriot. It's like someone more than patriot, and so that's why he's trying so hard. But there are other explanations to what happened to Medvedev. One of them is that he actually drinks, and there are a lot of jokes again when he says something. Usually people joke that, oh, he was drunk again, or whatever he used, what kind of alcohol he used this time. And I like this joke that Dmitry Medvedev said he could eliminate Finland in one evening. Meaning this Finland. Because he's very aggressive with other countries. So he could say, like, I will, this Finland will be gone by the end of the night. So there are a lot of jokes like that. Also, as I said, another version, political survival. So he's trying to secure his place in the new Russia. And he's adopting that turbo-patriotic style. And he's trying too hard. And also the third explanation might be that, and I actually believe that it might be that if you compare him to Putin, he looks absolutely crazy, and Putin with him in the background looks like more normal. And that's probably why Putin needs him, because he can say, Medvedev can say something what is in reality in Putin's mind and in his intentions, but Putin cannot say it himself publicly, but Medvedev can. And there were situations like when he actually said something, we can tell it wasn't Putin's intentions, like about Ukraine, because it was repeated then on the Russian state TV, or we could see it by the actions, Putin's actions. So there is this explanations, like there is a certain game, and they use Medvedev for this purpose. That's actually all what I wanted to say about Medvedev, but maybe Ilya can add. What is your opinion? Why did his rhetoric change so much? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know him personally, I can only analyze what he writes, and I can see the difference between his statements before and his statements now.
Thank you very much. I think actually would be interesting to debate, because I wouldn't say that I know the guy personally really well, but I worked with him a lot. And everything that we were doing during his presidential term, I think that he has actually done a lot of great things. And on several pictures that you showed, I was like the picture you showed with Steve Jobs, I was standing right next to it, you know, where the picture was taken, and I took to him to introduce him to Jack Dorsey in Twitter. And then there was the third episode, which nobody knows about, not so many people know about, when it's after that in the evening, there was a reception that was organized by George Shultz, the former Secretary of State, in his house, ironically on the Russian Hill in San Francisco. And it was Governor Schwarzenegger coming to greet him. And Schwarzenegger brought a gift for Medvedev. Because, as you correctly said, Medvedev, it was another joke which you didn't quote, which was quite popular, that why Putin chose Medvedev as his interim successor is because he was the only Russian politician who was not taller than Putin. Who was, he was, you know, almost a head below Putin. That's what I'm coming to, you know, because Schwarzenegger, those who know him, they know that this guy is not tall either. You know, he looks like, you know, very muscular and, you know, a true hunk, but, you know, he's actually quite short. And that's why Schwarzenegger always wears cowboy shoes with a heel like this. And this is crocodile leather shoes, you know, like it's very like traditional stuff, even under very official costumes. And Medvedev was also in the costume, so Schwarzenegger brought another set of the same shoes for Medvedev, and actually forced him.
I would love to see Medvedev wearing those shoes.
To take them on, so they were both in these cowboy shoes. And then I remember the very same evening when we was at this reception, and we were sitting with the presidential team at the hotel in San Francisco. Medvedev actually got a room with view to Alcatraz, and Svetlana was complaining that the beacon from Alcatraz actually was waking them up, because it was, I said, memento mori, think about potential prison. They took it as a hint. But we were drinking downstairs with Dvorkovich and others, and one of the guys in the delegation, not so known guy, said that, after today, Putin would never allow Medvedev to stay for the second term. And I was saying, like, why? Did you see the report on the first channel of Russian TV? I said, no, what was that? You should see. Because the first point in the news was Medvedev, bright skies of Silicon Valley, Steve Jobs, then Twitter, then he was drinking champagne with somebody. I don't know.
McDonald's and Obama.
No, McDonald's was late. McDonald's was when we came to DC after that. It was after. But at that time, he was drinking some champagne among eucalypts, palms, nice views and whatever. And then the next piece of news was Putin somewhere down the mine with the miners all covered in, black coal, dust. It was like a troll sitting, it was then the workers sitting around him, what's the fuck is going on, and they were complaining, and this shining Medvedev, with the suit and tie and everything, like, Putin would never forgive him this.
Well, but at the same time, they were showing Putin like with real people, with people of labor, and I think for some Russian audience, especially for the older audience, that's why they like Putin, because he's like a real man.
You're absolutely right, and that's why those people on the first channel who was putting this report, actually they were presenting this contrast, which in this sense was for pro-Putin. But like personally, so this bastard, is actually enjoying life when I have to be in this shithole, in Kemerovo, like I cannot even drink vodka there, it's like he's drinking champagne, so it was psychological. Anyway, my take on Medvedev is that all these rumors, drinking, he is drinking, he was drinking heavily. During his time in the government, but he was not tweeting like this when he was in the government. And Even I heard, unverified rumor, but from the guy whom I genuinely trust in Moscow, who said that actually Medvedev came to Putin one day when he was a prime minister and said that Svetlana is about to leave him, and asking Putin to call Svetlana to prohibit her from leaving him. And actually, it's quite probable.
I remember there was a rumor like that.
was quite probable. But I think that's right. I think that after he was removed from the prime ministership, because Medvedev has a dream, he is totally convinced that he would return to the president's office. And when he was the prime minister, he was kind of like official, again, successor. He was the deputy, Putin's deputy. And by Russian constitution, if something happens with Putin, prime minister is the one who takes the office. So he was official number two. When he was removed from the prime minister's position, he was no longer number two. He was in kind of like, many people say, he has kind of like a vice presidential position because he is only Putin's deputy in the Security Council, and that's like, you know, where the strategic security decisions are being made, and Medvedev is his deputy, so he's kind of vice prime minister, but still, according to the constitution, that he's nobody. But he still thinks that he has a chance. And his calculus is very simple, that liberals would accept him no matter what. If situation happens that Medvedev is back to office, you know, people would make a deal with him, like even like Khodorkovsky is of different type. They will make a deal because he's of the same breed. But the security apparatus genuinely hates him. And by being, you know, so aggressive, he is trying to blend, to send a signal, you know, to mesh with those people, to say like, you know, I am one of you guys as well. And he is playing clown. It's the same strategy that was employed back in the beginning of 50s by Nikita Khrushchev. So in Russian there is a word "юродивый," you know, there is no, I believe there is no exact translation into English. It's like, it's a crazy person, you know, like in court, crazy person, you know, so it's a clown, which, a jester? Okay. Yeah, shoot, да. A jester? Okay, maybe that is the word. So is the guy who has, because he's known crazy, so he has the privilege of saying the truth, telling the truth to the bosses, you know, to playing clown, you know, to say more than allowed to others. And I think that he's consciously trying to take this role in Putin's court. I don't believe that what is happening right now is because of his drinking.
Yeah, but it was like a joke, because there are a lot of jokes like that.
There's a lot of jokes
a
like
lot
this.
of jokes,
yes,
about a lot of anecdotes. So there is this discourse about Medvedev drinking. But yes, in reality, he is thinking about like his future, and I do think he says some things that Putin is thinking about. Like, but he doesn't want to say it publicly.
Yeah, he can be used as a communicator or something like this. That's obviously useful for Putin, and I think that Medvedev also is consciously employing this role. I don't believe that Putin is calling Medvedev and saying, you know, Dima, tweet this or that. No, he's smart enough to know what to do, and I think that by certain circles within Russian elites, he is still being considered pretty serious. And again, in this Russian hierarchy, firstly, Putin, after the beginning of large-scale invasion, he formed like a shadow government under him, which was in charge of particularly military production. And guess who was put in charge of this government? Medvedev was. He was the chairman of what's called Military Industrial Commission of Security Council of Russian Federation, but it has the mandate to coordinate all the ministries, all the departments of Russian government in terms of military production, beyond the prime minister. So he is kind of like, still is the shadow prime minister, and this Navalny's report that you quoted was ordered by Sechin, who consciously and many times used Navalny's investigations in fight against Sechin's enemies. Because this type of information that was disclosed during this investigation could be given only by the insider. You know, you cannot procure them from the outside. And of course, it was a genius idea, you know, about this duck's house, which is, it's like a dog's kennel, you know, it's the same thing. It's a small place at the lake, but it was as a symbol, you know, it was very powerful against Medvedev. And this report by Navalny was the first in series of the most watched investigations of Navalny.
And actually I forgot to mention that it's interesting, Dimon, yes. So the name of that investigation, the title was On Vam Ne Dimon. He is not Dimon for you. Dimon is like a not only short name for Dmitry, but also like a how can we
I
call
would
it?
say
Like a
he's not your buddy. That was the message. He's not your
yeah,
buddy.
but demon it's a special form, like very like how would
Friendly,
you
like you friendly. You would address your friend like this, and he was specifically saying that he's not your friend. He's not your buddy. You know, he's alien.
and he's not that cute and funny like how you think about him. He's not demon.
Because Ilya raised the question about Medvedev jockeying for position in the event that Putin is no longer the president of Russia. And so the question I have is, obviously there's some kind of succession hierarchy spelled out in the Russian constitution or in law, but I'd like to just get your views on if Putin died of a heart attack tonight, what would the process be about selecting the next president? Right, and secondly, is it possible? Obviously, they're having this war with Ukraine. Ukraine has started targeting key people in the Russian leadership. Some of them are generals, some of them are in intelligence. Could it be that Putin is deliberately promoting people like Medvedev and others to be harsher on Ukraine than he is, to send a signal that even if if Ukraine were to assassinate Putin, you'd probably end up with someone even worse than what you currently have? So.
On the second question, the answer is short, yes. And that's what I hear all the time in the Western capitals when I'm talking about regime change, is how you can guarantee that the next one would not be worse. And, you know, my response is always very simple, that one day there would be regime change because Putin is mortal. So if you're afraid that somebody could be worse, you better prepare and be engaged in the regime change.
As they say, if not Putin, then who?
Yeah. Yes.
Если не Путин, то кто?
So don't sit down and do nothing if you're afraid that somebody could be worse. And I agree, you know, it could be worse, yes. But in terms of succession in the Russian constitution, the scenario is the first in line of succession is the prime minister. The second in line of succession is the chairman of the Federation Council, Russian Senate, and the fourth one is the speaker of the parliament. That's the official scenario. Like I think it's good enough, you know. So it's yeah, but I believe that in any like reasonable scenarios, yes, Mishustin, who is the prime minister, would be the next president. The only scenario which I see as the alternative to the scenario of Mishustin is actually nominating Medvedev by doing it in the Security Council if it is a coup but not death of Putin. Because if death, it's, you know, is by constitution. You really need just to grab the power physically. And then it doesn't matter what is, you know, the line of succession and whatever. But if you pretend to make it legitimate, then the only scenario is that Putin, like Gorbachev, is announced incapable of ruling, but he is not dead. So he is formally in office as the president, but you're nominating somebody as acting president. And acting president would be very logical to nominate from the Security Council. And from the Security Council, Putin has only one deputy, who is Medvedev. Because many people confuse the secretary of the Security Council, that him being a deputy of Putin. No, it's a technical position. So what Shoigu now is, and previously it was Patrushev, it's a technical position. So you cannot nominate the secretary of Security Council to be the president. But the deputy, potentially you can. So at least it is a certain legitimacy. And that's what I believe Medvedev holds to.
Maybe Medvedev will become liberal again.
No, I think that firstly he would obviously would make a huge revenge on everybody who was harassing him. Because you should also see it. He has a reason to drink. Because after he stopped being a president, Putin is a man of his word. You know, Putin is very loyal to his people. And Medvedev is really untouchable. You know, with no questions, he has all the security, best conditions, all the money he wants, you know, like everything is fine. But every single person in Medvedev's team was prosecuted. All the key people in Medvedev's team, they suffered. Serdyukov, the former minister of defense, Abizov just got the second criminal case. Magomedov brothers are in Magadan with 20 years prison terms. Their uncle and the key person in Olympic Games who was working Medvedev, Bilalov, is here in Florida with a political asylum in states. Like all people around Medvedev, they were prosecuted, and the person who was organizing this, it was Sechin, it was Volodin, and it was Bastrykin. Well, these three people were the tools to clean up everything after Medvedev. Story.
And by the way, also Mishustin. Mishustin is another last name that means bear. Mishutka means little bear. So you see, there are a lot of last names in the Russian
and
politics.
United Russia icon is bear, you know. So. That's actually is one other joke, which I forgot. I think was very good about Medvedev, is that Medvedev is the experiment: can Russia live without a president? Which worked, because during Medvedev it was actually parliamentary democracy, but because who was Putin? Putin at the time was the chairman of ruling party, nominated by the parliament to be the prime minister, and it was, you know, a partisan government with a very weak president who was a decoration. So that means that Russia can be a parliamentary democracy, and we know it because of Mr. Medvedev.
We can actually go there and continue our conversation while having drinks and eliminating Finlandia.
Sorry for hijacking this, and thank you very much. No, we have better vodka. We have Durka vodka, you know, which is named after Putin, you know, no? Not after Medvedev.